Hey, Lit Set, it's Jasmine.
Hey, Lit Set, it's Nikea, and this is Black Girl Lit,
The podcast. We're a podcast now, guys.
where Black girls are lit
We get lit.
and we read lit.
This is Black Girl Lit, the podcast.
Okay, we're back. I can't believe it. Here we are. Season 4, Black Girl Lit.
Season 4.
Oh my God. Season 4,
Okay.
Black Girl Lit, the podcast.
The
Been a
podcast.
podcast longer than we were a booktube series, so.
Technically, yes. But, you know, also our seasons, just for the folks out there, our seasons don't run like television seasons. It's literally we read 10 books, take a month off, and then come back, read another 10 books because it's easy to record like that. It's easy to manage. Like, seasons can go by quickly in this format.
Yeah.
So, but yes, we're back with another season. I'm so excited. And then also, we're trying something a little different. Okay.
Y'all can see us.
now.
So we actually got put together, you know. a little
Kind of.
something. I put some brows on.
Okay, sis. Okay. I'll put some gloss on.
Me too, you know. Didn't want to have the dry, ashy lips on.
Didn't want to have the Gucci manes. Did not want to have the Gucci.
So I actually have to like look at the screen now and stuff and, you know, be engaged.
Engage with us.
Right, because when Jazz starts talking, I just zone out.
Well, damn.
I'm kidding. Jokes.
No, you're not. No, you're not. You're serious. But that's okay. That's okay.
So, oh no, we need to check in. You know, every time we take a break, I forget our format. Jazz, what's going on with you? How you been? How was your break?
My break?
You're all right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So my break was great. You know, I just celebrated my 31st birthday on Friday. A bitch is old. So, you know, there's that. But other than that, you know, just been chilling, not reading, playing The Sims, watching lots of Dateline. I have finished pretty much every available episode of Dateline on the Peacock app, which is like 50 episodes, probably more than that.
Dateline? Really?
I like
what is Dateline about?
Dateline's murder.
Oh. Okay, it makes sense now. I get it. I was like, Dateline of all things.
Dateline is so good. It's about murder stories. It's real life murder stories, true crimes. I watched one episode about this black girl who went to Central, whose fiance was a cop in Greensboro. And so she got killed, and they didn't know if it was her fiance that had killed her or her fiance's mistress. That was a good episode.
Ooh, the drama of it all.
But that's about it. What you been up to, girl?
I finally got back into my reading swing during our break because I think our season finale book, A Girl Like That, was that season finale? Yeah, last season, I didn't finish it, and just before that, it was just a struggle. But I've been reading, and actually, like, I also listen to audiobooks too. So I finished some audiobooks. I've been teaching my daughter.
That's good.
I'm a stay-at-home mom right now.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I've been teaching her, and that's been a journey. A journey. We'll say that. It's been a journey. But yeah, I'm just excited to get into season 4 and read these books that we have, because for once, like, we picked, most of our books are really popular, and if y'all don't know, we use the Libby app, and so it's like a virtual library, and one of the books, actually our next book is on hold for like 22 weeks, so I might have to just go ahead and buy it, because but yeah, I'm just ready to get into season 4, read these cool books. You know, we got some curveball. Well, I got a curveball book coming for y'all. You know what I'm saying?
You do. I'm excited. I think we picked a really good list of books this season. I know we were trying to focus on picking books that were kind of lighthearted. I will say I kind of fucked up with that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right.
I actually, we'll get into that a little bit in the reactions, but sis fucked up there. But I'm excited about the books that we have. I'm really, really excited for the last book that we're going to read, The Tiny Pretty Things. I think that's going to be really good.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, we got a good group of books this season, and I'm just really excited to start getting through them and recording and coming up with new ideas and content for BGL. But yeah, I'm just really excited. I think it's gonna be a great season. I think we're hitting our stride. We
Yeah.
are hitting our stride.
Getting a flow, you know.
Yes,
we were still
flow.
recording season 3 during a pandemic, a whole ass pandemic. Yeah. Jesus, but we made it.
I mean, we still technically in a pandemic, but you know.
And it was like the thick of it, where everybody actually believed in it at first, and now less people believe in it now.
Now people just don't care. Now people are here with it at all.
Yeah, just wait for that second wave to come through.
Right, as long as it don't come through before my wedding. Okay.
Right, after March. Today's book was picked by Jasmine. It's called The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett. Okay, so we're going to get into our first segment, which is about the author. Brit Bennett was born and raised in Southern California, and she graduated from Stanford University and later earned her MFA in fiction at the University of Michigan, where she won a Hopwood Award in graduate short fiction, as well as the 2014 Hurston Wright Award for college writers. She's a National Book Foundation 5 Under 35 awardee, and her debut novel, The Mothers, was a New York Times bestseller. Her second novel, The Vanishing Half, was an instant #1 New York Times bestseller. Her essays are featured in The New Yorker, The New York Times Magazine, The Paris Review, and Jezebel. I couldn't find any, personal information, any tea on her, but I do know that Brit Bennett was watching the Verses last night with Patti LaBelle and Gladys Knight. So,
okay. This is
tapped in. Yes, tapped in.
Tap in. Okay, sis. Okay. I support it.
Yes. I feel like she's our age too. When I looked her up, like she's between obviously she's under 35. So she's in our age range. She's our people. It's crazy. I keep telling Jazz, I'm reading books by people that are the same age as me. It's so weird,
It is weird. When you point it out like that, it is weird.
Now, the segment where Jasmine flourishes and thrives. She's now going to synopsisize The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett.
Okay, y'all. Come along with me as I synopsisize The Vanishing Half. So, the story is about identical twins, Stella and Desiree, who grow up in a very small town in Louisiana. The catch with this small town is everyone is light, bright, damn near white. And the story is basically about these twins kind of going off on very different paths as it relates to how they utilize their race. Stella decides that she wants to start passing as white. Let me add some context. Let me back up a second. This all takes place in the 50s, 60s, civil rights segregation time. So just give that context. But yes, so Stella decides that she wants to start passing as white, whereas Desiree goes out and marries the darkest Black man that she can find, essentially. And it's basically the story of how these decisions affect their lives and what it does to their relationship, as well as the relationship with their children and anyone coming into their life. How Stella decides, her decision to start passing affects her, what that means for her children, her family, her sister, and conversely, what Desiree's decision of marrying a super black guy does for her. That's an extremely high level view of this book. And yes, that's all I got.
Thank you for that synopsis, Jasmine. All right, now we're going to get into the next segment, which is our reaction. So this is just our initial guttural feelings about the novel, just first thoughts, jumping off the page there. All right, Jess, this is your pick. You go first. What were your reactions?
Okay. So I didn't write down a lot of reactions because I got super caught up in the book and just kind of forgot to write. But the first thing that I have is I felt like the Stella story was going to give me Sarah Jane vibes from The Imitation of Life, and I wasn't ready at that moment. Have you ever seen The Imitation of Life?
No.
Okay. It is this movie. The version that I've seen is from 1950, 1959. It's got Lana Turner in it. And it's the story, it's two stories, but the subplot within the movie is about this light-skinned Black girl named Sarah Jane, who decides that she wants to start passing, and how that basically affects her mother and how she she's really super disrespectful in the beginning when she makes a decision, but then how she kind of comes to regret the decision, and when she kind of realizes her decision was terrible, it's essentially too late. You should definitely watch that movie. I will buy it on Amazon Video for you and send it and gift it to you so you can watch it. So the other part, this is beside the book, but the other part of the movie is about this white woman who wants to be an actress and how her decisions begin to affect her family. But they're connected. You just gotta watch it. So that's the first thought I had. My second reaction, I'm gonna read this verbatim. It says, Nakia, I'm so sorry. The season was supposed to be light and happy. I fucked that up, cuh. So
she did. It was heavy.
It was real heavy. Which I probably should have known that given the content, given the synopsis of the story, where you have two extremely light-skinned twins who one decides that she's going to start passing. You already know.
But I didn't think it was going to go as heavy as it did. I thought it was going to be surface level, but Brit was like, nah.
Brit was like, she came out throwing them bows. And then the only gripe that I have with the book is that the time leaps that it does. So the book is told from a couple different perspectives, so what a couple different parts that take place in different, like the 1958, the 1968, the 1978, and that's how the parts are. So there were some times within those parts where the book is being told from Desiree's perspective, but then it would switch to Stella's perspective, or then it would switch to Desiree's daughter perspective, or then it would switch to Early's perspective. It was a couple times, and it wasn't really like there was no true delineation of when a new perspective was coming in. It would just be like a little black little line and then a new paragraph. And I'm like, well, who's talking here? And especially it would get really confusing when she would end a section with like, she says, she said, and then pick up she said, but it's a completely different she. And I'm like, was not ready for that. So I had to go back and read a couple times, like just to pick up and to follow along. And the last thing I have is that I would love to see like more detail or get more stories of Stella's experience through her years. I know we got like a highlighted, but it was still really high level. I want to get more in depth into like her life and how she was able to pass. I want to hear more about Desiree's decision and more of her time when she was in Mallard as an adult, what that looked like. I just wanted more in-depth story. I feel like each character has enough like depth to them that they could have their own book. And I think that would be really dope to see. Those are my reactions.
So initially when I first started reading this book, I started reading it like towards the end of season 3 because it was so popular and it was hard for me to get it from my library. But I started reading it and I kept falling asleep and I was like, bruh, like I can't get through this book. I kept falling asleep. And then I went on Goodreads and looked at some reviews and like it was like not reviewed so well. And I Googled it and I was like, oh, okay, Jazz, we picked a bad book. But I kept reading it. But that's our Black Girl Lit thing. We always pick books that are like a rough start and then they just pick up. Desiree is more outspoken and doesn't like school, wants to escape, and hates the focus on color. Stella is more reserved, book smart, and now she's motivated to leave because she is forced to drop out of school. And when I was first reading, I didn't know how their father died, but it tells you, which how her father died is just basically related to the times now, because although there was a quote in there that said her daddy was so pale that sometimes he would go outside on a cold day and you can see his veins. But the fact that he was Black, he was dragged out of his house and killed because he was Black. It doesn't say specifically why, but it just keeps saying because he was Black. Then I put Desiree can imitate Stella. Interesting. So this is where my mind started to inception itself, because I was like, Stella is Desiree is Stella, or like one of them doesn't really exist, or one of them killed the other, and that's what happened. And I was like, ooh, if we had went that route, ooh, Brit, that was like really a mind freak.
That was where I was going. I was thinking the same thing, because the book, it begins with just, forgive me spoilers, but the book begins with so much of Desiree. I was like, Stella don't exist no more.
Right.
The way Desiree's acting about Stella, like Stella don't exist no more. Either you became Stella somehow, and you got a whole secret family somewhere, or you got multiple personalities.
Right.
Because DID kind of thing. But anyways, continue.
Yes. And then I also noticed I kept reading Desiree as dark skin, and it's like she's the black sheep of the family, outcast, weird one. And when I read, I visualize stuff in my mind. I just kept seeing Desiree as dark skin, and I know she's supposed to be like super pale and almost white, but I could not picture her that way. And I don't know if Brit did that on purpose to show the difference between the two sisters, but that was really key for me. And then the last thing was that this book, oh, did I close the window? Oh, this book reminded me of this book by Nella Larson called Passing. And it was written in 1929, but it's about two friends. Like, I read it a while ago, so I may get the plot a little messed up, but it's two friends, and one is passing as white, and she marries like a French guy. Like, she moves overseas and marries this French guy, and she's scared to have a baby by him because she doesn't want the baby to come out black, and then like her secret will be outed. But this book really reminded me of Passing. Like, I was sitting here reading The Vanishing Half, and I was like, I need to go read Passing again. So I feel like Brit is in that canon with Nella Larson with her book. Let's see, what else did I have? I think that's about it. I feel like, and one thing, this book just touched on a lot of different topics that I didn't expect it to touch on. And I guess we'll get to that in major scenes and topics.
It definitely took a turn. Not in a bad way, but it did not go the route that I expected it to.
Right.
It definitely, and I probably should include this in my reaction, but one of the things that I left the book leaving was like, if I was super light in this time, would I try to pass? If I could pass, would I try to pass? And part of me is like, hell yeah, I would, because life would have been so much easier. But then it's really not, because you're constantly looking over your shoulder, panicking and scared that someone's going to realize and see something in you and be like, something's not right here. And then you're going to end up dead. But then at the same time, I could just end up dead being black anyway. So it's like, But yeah, that's one thing that I left the book feeling like, if I was in this situation, what would I do? And I don't have a good answer for that.
Yeah, that's something good to chew on. Like, I feel like I would not live past, but like, if I were to go to a store and they didn't serve me correctly, I would, pull out the white lady in me, like, pull out the white privilege. I think I would. I wouldn't live past, because just Stella's story, like, she lost herself. She lost herself, and she allowed, like, her husband to just control her and be who he wanted her to be. And I feel like, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but I feel like in the end, she didn't really, love him. She just became a part of her cover. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you, Forrest.
Next segment.
Next scene. Scenes and topics.
Well, it's a scene because, they can see us on YouTube now. Me talking with my hands, doing all of this.
Me eating my fruit cup like a 3-year-old.
Next segment is going to be major scenes and topics. These are topics that stood out to us and scenes that were important to us within the novel. And there may be spoilers. So if you haven't read the book,
spoiler alert,
and you don't want it to be spoiled, you should stop here. Read the book.
Spoiler alert.
All right, Jazzy J, what you got?
All right, so again, didn't take like a lot of notes like I should have. Probably should have.
Right.
Next book I will, but
don't lie to us.
Good point. Touche. But two of the scenes that I definitely have were Stella's discovery by Jude, at the dinner party, Stella's discovery, the reunion, at the diner, and honestly, there weren't, the way that the book is told, it's not like a lot of scenes in my perspective or my opinion. It was more, I don't know how to describe it. I'm not a literary person, even though I read literature. It just didn't feel like I had a lot of scene options. Now, I will say the scene, I guess not the scene, but the description or the storytelling of their father's death, that's also really pivotal in who they become as people. But yeah, those are my scenes.
Oh, when Jude and, what was Stella's daughter's name?
Kennedy.
Yes, Jude and Kennedy, like, becoming friends. And the black family moving into Stella's neighborhood.
Oh, yes.
And then I also put Jude meeting Reese, because that's another thing, because so spoiler, Reese is transgender, a transgender man. Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, when people talk about being transgender, they always say the ability to like pass. So I think Reese's story is like relatable to Stella, can kind of parallel. They have some similarities there where they both are like creating their own lives and kind of leaving this one life behind and being who they want to be. And I think Reese can kind of understand Stella's struggle of like, I don't want to be this thing anymore, so I'm going to choose my narrative and become this other thing. And initially, it's funny, I think I remember Reese saying that he chose to pass as a man because he was traveling and didn't want anybody to take advantage of him. But once he got to where he needed to go, he felt comfortable in this thing and was like, oh, this is who I am. So yeah. So I think Jude meeting Reese is important to the story.
That's very important. That's a really good juxtaposition to call out.
For the day.
Because I didn't even think of it that way. So you have these two people who are passing. And then I think it's also important to kind of point out, because throughout the story, spoiler, throughout the story, when after Jude first meets Stella, she's like kind of low-key stalking, trying to stalk Stella through her. Well, she's stalking Kennedy. Well, stalking Stella through Kennedy, but either way, she's trying to find a way to get connected to these people. And Jude's like, not Jude, Reese is like, just chill, just chill. But Jude's like, no, how could someone just up and leave their family and just become a new person? And Reese is like,
hello,
I'll be here. So I think that's important to kind of see, because then you can kind of understand it and kind of process Reese's reactions to Jude's decisions and trying to get more information or connect with Stella a little bit more, because he is going through that currently in his life and making these decisions. And it's also kind of interesting how Jude is okay with Reese doing it, but not okay with her aunt doing it.
Right.
Really interesting.
I think another big thing, like when we see the Black family move into the neighborhood, that's when we really learn a lot about Stella. And it's funny because Stella is low-key, high-key racist. Like, she does not like Black people.
Anti-Black. She is anti-Black.
Yeah, like, I feel like I couldn't even see Stella as a Black person. Like, I saw her as a white woman. But it was like when that Black family moved into the neighborhood, she was like so attracted to the wife. Like, they began to hang out, and Stella just got comfortable with them, but it was only comfortable like behind closed doors. And like, that's where you learn the story of like how Stella began passing, how she met her husband, and how she was scared to have a baby because she was afraid that her baby would come out dark skinned. And, she got lucky because her baby was blonde with these purple blue eyes. But that really, I didn't like Stella as a person, as a character. She was just terrible. Trash. Like, I can understand you passing, but why do you have to treat people like that?
Right. And at first I thought so she was so against them moving into the neighborhood. At first I thought it was from a place of like survival mode. Like, okay, if these other Black people move into the neighborhood, Black folks be knowing. And she was concerned that these Black folks were going to point out like, hey, you're Black. And she thought her cover was going to be blown. But no, it was purely because she just didn't like Black people. It wasn't, she just, and what was really pissing me off was that after she met Jude, she kept referring to Jude as the Black girl. That Black girl. It's because that Black girl came and talked. She don't worry about that Black girl, that dark girl, or that dark, like, that's your niece.
Right. Yeah, all Stella did was lie. Just lie. Like, I'm surprised she kept her name.
Me too. I thought she was going to change it. I honestly thought she was going to change it. But
no. And the scene you mentioned where Jude saw Stella at the party that she was catering or whatever, I was not expecting that. Like, that really, like, threw me for a loop. Because it starts off telling it from Jude's perspective, but then it cuts off. It doesn't tell you who this glamorous woman is. Like, you kind of have to like infer that, but then it tells it to you from Stella's point of view. And then you realize, oh, Jude saw her auntie and was like, oh my God. But I was just like, when they told her from Jude's point of view, I didn't see it. I was like, who is this lady? Why is Jude tripping? Like, what's going on? And that's really the event that kind of triggers everything else. Because like Jazz said, Jude becomes like obsessed with finding her and like getting to know her. But Jude keeps this secret from her mother, which is not typical of Jude. Jude is a reserved person. Usually with her mom, she's very open, but she said she kept this thing from her because she wasn't sure if her mom wanted to hear it, if her mom was ready to accept the fact that her sister was still alive and was, you know, just didn't want to be found and stuff like that. So I thought that was like really key. And I thought it was actually funny because Jude was actually talking to her cousin Kennedy at the bar when this all went down. So it was just, it's a family entanglement.
It was also interesting about how the daughters of each is described like the other person. So like Stella was, you know, the reserved one, but Jude, who's Desiree's daughter, ends up being reserved. And then Kennedy's wild out there kind of thing, similar to how Desiree was. So I thought that was really interesting. One thing I really would have loved was I wanted Desiree to win. I didn't feel like she won until the end. Okay, because Sis was going through some struggles. Sis had to go back home to her little town where everybody's light skinned with her super dark baby that got disrespected and had to go work at a diner while her sister's out here living this luxurious life that she does not deserve. And I was pissed. Yeah. Desiree deserved more.
Yeah. Like, I feel like if I was Stella, if I was passing, I would still like, I would have sent my sister money. Like, I would have found a way to like stay in contact with her or something, because, you know, maybe send it from a PO box or something, or, you know, put a fake address or something. Like you said, she just, you know, left Desiree hanging.
She left Desiree a note and peaced out and chased after a man and became white and never reached back or said anything. And I feel like that's complete trash. I don't have any siblings. So I really not, but I know twins, and I know twins are super connected. So for her to do that is just like weird. And that's when I also knew that she was a trash person.
Definitely. Garbage. I think that's all. Oh, did we talk? Oh, yeah, we talked. Oh, no. The last one. The last major scene you mentioned is Stella and Desiree reuniting. I think that is, thinking back on it now, that scene is funny because the only reason they reunite is because Stella wants to tell Desiree to call Jude off and tell Jude to like back up, because Jude actually spills the beans to Kennedy that they're related, and then Kennedy starts asking questions. Stella lies, of course. But Stella's like, let me go down here because this needs to stop, because then my husband's gonna find out, it's gonna be a big thing, which her husband is dumb. Stella's husband is stupid. Like, he hears all this stuff and it's just like, oh, whatever, denial.
She just wants money. She's extorting you. There's no way you could be black. She's just extorting you.
Right. And Stella a hell of a lie, and she must have that WAP to have him.
Gotta have that WAP.
Locked down like that.
Kryptonite in her possession, because them lies was trash.
Yeah. But I do appreciate that they kind of like fell back into their routine with each other. Like when they met up again. I mean, not at first in the diner, because Desiree was just like, what the hell? Who is this? What's going on? What are you doing here, Stella? But when they got back to the house, it was just like, I think they were drinking together and they felt like they were younger.
But then Stella pulled her bullshit and just left without leaving.
I know. That made me... Well, Early knew, because Early took her back to the train station or whatever. Yeah. But he didn't tell Desiree, which, why are people keeping this stuff from Desiree? This is like in that Spider-Man movie where they're like, don't tell Harry. Like, everybody's like, don't tell Harry. Keep these secrets from Harry in the first Spider-Man. And I'm like, they're like, don't tell Desiree. Everybody's keeping secrets from Desiree.
Right. She a grown woman. She can handle it. But
Stella did give Early her wedding ring.
Yes.
For Pond. Yeah, so in the end, she did help her sister out. And then her husband just buys her an upgrade, and she lies and says that she lost it, that it went down a drain? Something like that. Like, she took it off. She took it off at work, and the janitors couldn't find it because she put it on the sink to wash her hands.
and he just believed it. Dumb as a box of rocks.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a really good scene. Also, I think another scene that is important is how, or maybe not the scene, but the storyline between Desiree and Early meeting. Like, what was the premise and purpose of them meeting? So originally they had met when they were younger, but they are reintroduced to each other. Spoiler alert, because Desiree's abusive ass husband, Sam, sends basically a bounty hunter Early to go retrieve his wife and child because Desiree has left him after he beat her one too many times.
Yes.
And which, I guess we'll get into the topic. I'll talk about that in topics, but the colorism was jumping out in their relationship and just throughout the whole novel, just in general, but definitely was seen there.
If you think about it, that's where Desiree, I think, became interested in darker skinned men, because he's not dark, but he is, brown skin compared to Desiree, who's like basically white. And her mother like ran him away before, and then at the end he became family in a sense.
But also, could it just be both of them hated? Well, not both of them, but like both Desiree and Stella, they made these decisions because they both hated their lightness and what it had been instilled in them. So Desiree hated her lightness in the sense that she didn't want to be black, so she utilized her lightness to become white. Stella. Whereas Desiree hated the focus on being light and how good light was, that she married a super blue black guy, and she goes, that was the complete opposite of what she had been told to go after. So
I didn't think of it that way, but
there's like a little bit of self-hate in there.
Yeah, I see that. I can see that. I forgot we didn't mention topics. We just mentioned scenes. But you said we had some topics. Here
we go. 3 topics. Colorism, self-acceptance, and familial relationships. Boom. Colorism. Shit was in there. Everybody hated themselves. Well, hated colors. Desiree's mama was like, don't ever marry no super black man. He gonna kill you. And she was kind of right in the book, but but I did have a quote that talked about colorism. It goes as such: lightness, like anything inherited at a great cost, was a lonely gift. He'd married a mulatto even lighter than himself. She was pregnant then with their first child, and he imagined his children's children's children lighter still, like a cup of coffee steadily diluted with cream, a more perfect Negro, each generation lighter than the one before. And that quote was talking about the founder of their town, Mallard, who wanted to make sure that every resident in Mallard was super light. And I was like, my note was a more perfect Negro because you're light skinned. I was like, the colorism jumped out there.
Yeah.
And you can really see that as well when Desiree returns to Mallard with Jude, who's super dark skinned, and how Jude is completely disrespected and treated in the community when they come into it. Yeah. Even though she's black, just like the rest of y'all. She just is.
Right. So. Yeah, definitely those are major topics. The colorism is just rampant. Racism we see through Stella. And, what else did you say?
I said family, self-acceptance, and then like family relationships.
Yeah. And I think self-acceptance.
No, that was everybody's going through some self-acceptance issues.
Yeah. I was going to say, like,
the characters.
Kennedy trying to find herself, Jude trying to, like, be more sure in who she is, Reese and his journey, Stella, which she don't have no self-acceptance, and then Desiree just accepting, I'm from Mallard, this is my life, this is where I'm going to be. I think that's why she got complacent being there when she returned. Oh, you have any sips? I think Jazz has a sip.
I do?
Yes. About your family member that was reading.
Oh, I do have a sip. Yes. I do. So, during last weekend before last, Labor Day, went home to Virginia, visited a family member, my 89-year-old god-grandmother. She's like a family friend. She's actually my mom's godmom, but that's why I call her my god-grandma. But we call her Aunt Bernice, so don't ask how she's whatever. She was telling me, my mom, about a book that we needed to read, and we were visiting her. So she went into her room and she came back out, and what book did she bring? The Vanishing Half.
The Vanishing Half.
And she said she enjoyed it. She said, oh, this book is so good, y'all. Y'all need to read it. And I was like, Aunt Bernice, I'm reading that book right now. And she had little notes written in the margins and was underlining stuff. Now, I don't think she finished the book. She said she did, but she had like a page folded, and I don't think she had actually in the front of the book, and I didn't see the other underlines towards the back. So I don't think she actually finished the book, but she said it was really good. And she explained how much she was enjoying it and how she knew some people back in her day who was trying to pass too. And I was like, oh, really?
Right.
They used to do it all the time, but I don't always know. And then she also proceeded to tell me about how many crooks she had in the family, but that was a different thing. But yes, so shout out to Bernice for reading these.
She lived through like what was going on in the book, because she had to be born in like the 30s or late 20s to
be 89. Yeah, it's also interesting. We asked my grandma, who my grandmother is. She will be 73 in next month, October. So she's relatively young for grandma standards, but we asked her what it was like during the Civil Rights Movement, and she was like, it was fine. Judy, what you mean it was fine? I was like, did you go to protest? No, I didn't do that kind of stuff. I stayed in the house. We just knew where we needed to go, where we could go and where we couldn't go, and I just didn't go to the places that I couldn't go. So it was fine for me. Okay.
Was it really? Okay, Judy.
All right, Judy. But anywho, yes. So that is our sip. So shout out to Bernice.
And she was most likely born in 1931 if she's not having another birthday this year.
Yeah, she's not her birthday.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, her birthday's in February, I think. So so shout out to her. I hope she actually does finish it.
Mm-hmm. I think it's dope that the author can write a book that can resonate with somebody of that age. And I don't know, I need to look into this. I wonder if Brit did any research or talked to anybody who lived in that time, or maybe she has family members that she talked to. But that's pretty dope for someone to be our age that can write a book that an 89-year-old person would like to read and enjoy and can relate to.
Yeah, like she had the hardback and was really excited about it and brought it out and was like, you need to read this book. I was
mad props.
I already am. So mad props to you, Bernice.
Y'all can join in on the sips too. Y'all know what to do. Send them in. Email, Instagram. I'll put it on the screen. Okay? All right. And that's it. All right, now to your favorite segment, the reason why you are here. We're going to rate the book, y'all. Y'all know our scale. We have sober, buzzed, tipsy, and lit.
She was reading them too fast for me to give my reactions because I got a little slow brain, but it's okay.
Sober? You want to do sober?
No, sober. I'm not interested anymore. The moment has passed. Hey, let me rate this book. Let me just go ahead. I'm not even going to hold y'all. I'm not even going to tilly-tally like that. I'm not even going to dilly-dally. This book was lit, okay? I thoroughly, greatly enjoyed this novel. It was a little bit of a struggle in the beginning for me to finish the book. I mean, just like to get going into the book.
Yeah.
To be completely honest with you, I was only at 50% on Saturday. So today is Monday. So I did some serious reading, but I was able to do that. I was able to do that serious reading because it was a good damn book. So, and I think the reason why it's lit is because, like I said in the beginning, it forced me to ask myself the question of what would I do? If I was like right damn near white, would I be black or would I be white? So I think that's important. But a book can't like cause you to examine your own life and your decisions and what you would do. It's a good goddamn book. So, Brit, you got a lit book, girl. And that's all I got to say about that.
All right. So, this book is lit for me too. I was like, let me go check my Goodreads review. And I gave it 5 stars. On Goodreads, I gave it 5 stars, which is comparable to our lit. I feel like we may need to add like one more drunkenness thing to this, because 4, sometimes
it's really hard to rate it.
Yeah. Well, maybe next episode we'll have one. We'll brainstorm that. Yeah, for sure. But definitely a lit book. And like Jazz said, when it first started, I just couldn't get into it. And that was probably just like my mindset and just, personal things going on in my life. But as I read it, it was just like, it was picking up. Like, I woke up one time at like 1 o'clock in the morning and couldn't go back to sleep. And I was reading for 2 hours and looked at my phone. It was 3:30. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay, I need to go to sleep. Like, what's going on?
I read it.
Right. And I loved how there were glimpses of the characters' futures throughout the story, because even when it was told from like Kennedy's perspective, it would be like, oh, and later on she was such and such and such and such and such. So I appreciated, like, we still got fullness of the characters. We got their past, their present, and their future. And I feel like this, like, there's so much to this novel. And I think Jazz texted me and mentioned that HBO is supposed to be picking this up as a series or something.
Yep.
So, and I feel like this is a good book to do a series, because there's so much that you can go into. Like, you could have one season just focusing on their lives in Mallard before they even decide to run away. Then another season can be about them running away and their experiences there. And then you can have one season that just focuses on Stella and her life. And then another season that just focuses on Desiree's life. And then another season that focuses on how they come together. And then what happens after all that. Like, this could go on for at least 6, 7, 8 seasons. So good quality reading. Good quality writing, and like I mentioned before in the SIP section, how Brit was able to write a book that 2 31-year-olds could enjoy and an 89-year-old woman could enjoy as well. So
shout out to you, Brit, girl. Yeah. You are Black Girl Lit.
Black Girl Lit approved. That is it. That's it for today's episode. I'm not gonna let Jazz continue on this Dorothy.
Gotta get in the stew and work on that.
Oh my God, please don't. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay.
That's it for today's episode, y'all. Our next book is my choice, and it is an African fantasy novel. I'm excited. It's called A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Rosanna A. Brown. I'm so excited, y'all. I'm excited because it's fantasy, and it's African fantasy, and I feel like this just kind of segues from Slay, you know, which was that like sci-fi virtual technological world. And then I've also read Akata Witch, which is African fantasy. So I'm just all in my, you know, I like Harry Potter. So I'm like, let me get some Black fantasy. Let me get some Black people. You know what I'm saying? People from the motherland. I'm excited
to read it. I was actually able to get it from my library. I had put it on hold, and they told me it was going to take me 2 weeks. And then the next day, it was available. And I was like, well, let me grab it.
Okay, so my library, so I have 2 library cards, and I have it on hold at each library. So 10 weeks on one. I think that's the shortest one. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at blackgirllit_. We have merch. Buy it.
Like this cup.
It's just sitting there, y'all. It's just sitting there. Y'all better catch this wave, because it's going to be too late.
I love my mug. I use it all the time.
I don't have one. I got a Bojangles cup.
We buy our own merch, y'all. Okay.
We support ourselves.
Yes.
Buy our merch. Click all the links in the description box, in the bio, show notes, all of that. But Jazz, we don't have anything else for the good of the order?
I do not.
All right. Well, as always, stay Black Girl Lit.
Stay Black Girl Lit, y'all. Stay Black Girl Lit in them motherfucking streets. Okay. Stay lit. Stay all the way.
I thought you were going to say Black Girl Lit in literature. I thought you were going to go that route.
Black Girl Lit and literature.
Oh my God. Now my peace sign works. Like, y'all can see me. All right, y'all. Bye.
Bye.
That's it for today's show. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. Leave us a 5-star rating and a top-notch review to get us to the top review page on iTunes. And be sure to follow us and listen on SoundCloud.